you ready? I said, are you ready for Let's Talk Whoa Hockey? And now, here are our hosts, Beth and Zach.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk Whoa Hockey, presented by 5 and a Game Sports Network. I'm your host, Beth. I am joined, as always, by my dude, Zach. And Zach, I'm really excited for today's episode because it is a new year. It's 2023, and you and I decided we were going to do a little bit of a different format for the show this year coming up. And today is our first WoShow.
Yes, I love the name, the WoShow. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's just perfect for the new kind of like mini show, I guess, if you want to call it that, or its own little segment show.
Honestly, right now, I feel like just based on like looking at the episode rundown, things like that, the time we've given to different things, I feel like the WoShow is going to be the main show. the Black Hawk show is going to be like the bonus episode.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Mostly because there's really not much good stuff to talk about with the Blackhawks right now, but we'll get to that on Thursday when we do that.
Do we have to? I don't want to.
I mean, there have been some interesting things that have happened in that organization the last couple of days, so I am excited to talk about that on Thursday. But today, it's all WoHo, all episode. Like, not only are we hitting the PHF because they are back, baby, and all 7 teams were here this weekend.
It was an interesting weekend, that's for sure.
All 7 teams played this weekend. So not only are we hitting the PHF and welcoming them back, we've got some ACHA women's hockey updates. And we've got some IIHF women's world updates too. So
yeah, the U18s is what, so they make it's the U18s, which is even like, okay. Then we can see the future of all these teams.
The future of women's hockey players, which is super exciting. But how has the last couple of days been? Because I mean, we just talked on Thursday, so it's not like it's been a week.
I mean, it's been good. I mean, just trying to watch all the hockey I can because it's basically what I do when I'm not at my normal day job. So had an interesting game trying to recap the Checkers Penguins game from the other night. Luckily, there's a player that got hurt, but he's okay and stuff like that. So that was a scary incident. But yeah, no, kind of caught the last game of the Bears today. They secured the number 1 pick in the draft. So I mean, of course your Jags won the division. So I mean, which was surprised they were given like a 12% chance to win, and it's like,
and I mean, I watched that game. Like, yes, I love hockey. Football is whatever. I mean, today's a prime example of why football is whatever. You fight in football and you get ejected from the game. Like, you don't sit for 5 minutes in the naughty box and think about what you did and then go out and do it again.
Yeah,
so
right, exactly. Yeah, it's
like,
but
just another score 1 for hockey. Like,
yeah, but no, I mean, it's been good. Like I said, just try and consume as much hockey as possible and stuff like that. Enjoyed a nice surf and turf last night. My sister-in-law decided to do some lobster tail and some steak and smashed potatoes with some sour cream, bacon, and cheese and green onions. It was was it corn with Old Bay seasoning on it? I have to say it was pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that sounds a little delicious. I mean, I had day hockey yesterday because the Iceman game got moved, so I had arena food for lunch instead of like dinner.
Right. Well, I mean, you had Lizard Kings hockey, not Iceman hockey. So I mean,
I did, and it's funny because the Icemen do like a Lizard Kings throwback every year. They started it a couple seasons ago because they were a team here. They originated in the city, so they like to toss it back to them. And it's such a good like late 90s, early 2000s throwback for hockey. I mean, music wise, vibe wise, promotion wise, the whole 9 yards. And honestly, I fully support that. Like, a couple of my friends yesterday were laughing because I was like singing along to every song that they were playing. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is my time.
Like, it's like my time to shine. Yeah. Cause I think, because it was funny the other night, like, Tara was listening to a TikTok or something. It was like these top songs from like the 80s, but it was like 1989. And I'm like hitting every single song. She's like, I'm kind of surprised you knew a lot of them. I'm like, see what happened was when you're a 90s kid and you got parents who listen to a lot of 80s and music and stuff. Like you kind of get indoctrinated with stuff like that. So it's just like, yeah, I get that. It's like especially when it's 90s music time. Yeah, it's our time to shine. Us millennials need party it up.
I mean, like I'm talking like Hanson and Backstreet Boys and like original Snoop and Gangsta's Paradise. Like,
yeah, I mean,
they were checking all the boxes all weekend long. But
so the vibes were good.
Oh, the vibes were immaculate. Well, game situation vibes on Friday, not so immaculate because they didn't win, but they turned it around Saturday afternoon with a very short turnaround. Like it was supposed to be a full day between games, but it ended up being about a 12-hour turnaround. And
welcome to minor league hockey.
it was fun, but I'm excited because this weekend all the WoHo came back. Like
we got a lot of WoHo.
Women's ACHA hockey returned. The PHF returned. The U18 IIHF Women's Worlds began today because they're playing in Sweden. So like their day starts a little bit earlier than ours.
Right.
So that began today. And it's really exciting to see like the future and the present of WoHo really kind of taking the stage at the same time. So the first thing we want to kind of go over is a new segment, and Zach came up with the name for this one. So it's time for a little Let's Talk WoWacha.
Yeah.
So we've got, we're still waiting on some score updates, guys. The ACHA website, both on the men's and women's side, is a little bit slow on the uptake. There are games from like Friday that still show that they haven't been played. So we don't know what happened because it is what it is. But we were just kind of looking about the best thing we can do right now is just update on standings next week. Hopefully this will have a little bit more information in it while we wait for things to get updated. But let's go ahead and start D1 for ACHA hockey. It was great to refresh the standings and see that things have not changed. My Indiana Tech still number one for Division I hockey. They are 19-1-0 this season, which is just like the most immaculate vibes. We were talking about goal differentials earlier. They have 114 goals for and 30 goals against. That is a positive 84 goal differential, which is just nuts. Like,
yeah, I mean, when you're scoring 5-6 goals a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they finished off really well last year, and it seems like they're on to a hot start this year. So it definitely makes things interesting for Division I ACHA, where you look at them, and of course, where you look at Michigan and Dearborn and Adrian and all those schools. I mean, there's a lot of like pretty solid teams in the Division I and Division II ACHA. It's like I think it's a lot of missed hockey right now.
Oh, it really is. I wish it was shared better throughout the world. I know while we were on our break, Jenna from the University of Michigan women's hockey team went online and started a social media campaign because they had to pay something along the lines of like $20,000 or $30,000 for ice time at the University of Michigan. The University of Michigan that owns the ice at their school.
Yeah. Was it? I think it's Yost or something like that.
Yeah, because they practice and play it at Yost, and
like they make their own teams.
Yeah,
pay them to use their ice. It's like you're at the
and
same
it's like
school.
They're students at the school, and they are a club team of the school, so they are actually like a team for the school. And I mean, we know like club teams, obviously they pay for travel, et cetera, but if your school has a sheet of ice and you are a club hockey team that uses school colors, school logos, the whole 9 yards, paying for ice time, especially at that cost, is a bit much.
It's stupid. I mean, because when I went to college at Youngstown State, like I was the club president and founder of the lacrosse team. All I had to do was all I had to do was go to the club, the club head person who does the whole thing. I'm like, hey, I need this field at this certain time for these games. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll call and get the refs set up and stuff like that. We'll call the league and we'll get you. Like, it wasn't that hard. I mean, I know it's on grass, but we still had to use the football stadium, which is, I mean, it's the football stadium.
Well, and the thing about
crazy.
it's not like the University of Michigan ACHA women's team plays during the off season of like the NCAA men's team. Like they're playing at the same time. So the ice exists, like it is there. They're not creating ice and building a sheet for them to play on specifically.
I mean, Yost is literally their ice arena. It's just hockey all the time there. Like they don't use it for anything else. It's just for their hockey program.
Well,
like,
that would be like saying a club weightlifting team needs to pay to use the gym to train. For like,
yeah, makes no sense.
And I mean, as much as we don't agree with a certain stance on many things that a large sports media company has,
which will not name.
No, we are not naming them. Their founder / CEO is an alumni of this university, and he stepped up and donated all of the funds that the women's team needed to secure their ice time for the season, and also like put the university on blast.
Yeah.
And I don't hate it. Like,
no, you don't. It's just it's just unfortunate who it was.
Exactly. It's the who did it, but again,
it's the for what cause.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
that person / organization, they have done a lot to promote women's hockey. So I can't hate it because they do support and they do what they can to advance the game. Just everything else that they do, I generally do not agree with. So, no. I mean, it is what it is. But to kind of just go over, a little bit of the D1 standings, run down the list. We've got Adrian in second place in D1 right now. They are 16-4-0-0. In third place, we have Midland University. They are 14-3-1-2. In fourth place, we have our friends from the University of Michigan who are 12-3-0-1. We've got Minot State at 12-4-1-1. We've got Miami University at 11-6-1-1. Liberty is 11-0-0-0, but again, the points kind of don't add up because they have played literally half the number of games of Tech. But I mean, points are points. So
points. And I have to just say that like Liberty's jerseys are pretty slick. I mean, they're pretty slick. Like Liberty doesn't mess around with their jerseys. Like
they do not. And then we've got Michigan Dearborn in 8th place. They are 9-5-2-1. Colorado State University at 9th, 8-5-0-0. And then rounding out the top 10, we have University of Utah with 8-7-0-0. If we scroll down the list just a smidge, we will find more friends of the podcast with Lake Superior State University. They're having a bit of a rough season points-wise, but looking at the numbers, these are super close games. They are 2-10, but if you look at the goal situation, they've scored 36 goals and they have allowed 37 goals. They have a goal differential of -1. They are not like getting the crap stomped out of them. They are losing and winning very, very close games. And I mean, yes, they are sitting in 28th in Division I right now, but all of the other teams around them, if you look numbers wise, Montana State is the next team down. Their goal differential is -86. They have scored 24 goals and have allowed 110.
I mean, like you said, like the record, like when you look at goalie record, like if you look at goalie records or you look at guys like plus minus, because what do we always say about plus minus? You look at the time on ice stat with that because it's more of I think that's more of a context stat when it comes like plus minus. And when you got to add it with that, but if you look at the record, it's almost like it's like you want to look at like, well, you lost games, you won games, but for me, it's like okay. Also, here's another context, but with it, what's the goal differential? Because it could be a very vastly different thing. Like you said, when you're -1 and you're 2-10, okay, so it proves that you're not getting pumped every single night. You're losing a bunch of games. Like I know there was one school we looked at, it was like 140 something.
That would be.
Like that.
I was just about to bring them up. So Davenport University, they are in last place in D1 right now. They are 0-15. They have scored 7 goals this season and have allowed 149 goals. So their goal differential is minus 142. Like when you're looking at a win-loss record, yes,
It doesn't tell
obviously
the full. It doesn't
it
tell the
doesn't,
full story.
yeah, it doesn't tell the full story, like just looking at wins and losses. If you look deeper into the stats, you can see that some of these teams, like they're losing games that are close. Like we're talking 1-goal games for most
Yeah.
of these.
That's a lot
And
of one goal games for Lake
yeah,
Superior State to lose because, like you said, -1, 2, and 10. You're probably thinking it's like 3-2, 2-1.
yeah,
Like it's just one of those things where unfortunately it just hasn't gone your way. Like you said, you have a
yeah,
like you see they could probably say last year they probably won a bunch of games by 1 goal. And
yeah,
now this year is kind of like the flip script where it's like, okay, now they just can't get the win, but they only lose by 1. That's kind of one of those things where it's like you're in the games. It's just you haven't been
yeah.
able to find that string of luck to get the wins to pile up for you at that time. So
Well, and even if you look at like the goals for and the goals against, we're talking like these are games where the score is 4-3,
yeah,
3-2. I mean, these aren't games where it's like 10-1.
no, it's
The-
like these
These
games
are
are close.
competitive games. These are the games we love to watch because it's like, and then, there's always that moment like right at the end of the game where you're down a goal and you pull the tendy. And then it's like,
You lose by
can't,
2 or
like,
you lose by 2 or 3, but like
or
it's
yeah. Well, even just like losing by 2 in that scenario, it's still like your heart starts to race because you're like, okay, we know that the net is empty.
yeah.
And we really need to like keep it in. I mean, that was something that happened actually just about an hour and some change ago in the PHF. So we are going to cover that because my heart was in my throat at the end of that game. But I mean, our friends of the podcast, they're all having pretty phenomenal seasons in D1.
Yeah,
It's just
I think I think Lake Superior State's going to pull around because I know like
mhm.
Matt and those guys, or Matt and the ladies. I think they're gonna turn it around and
Oh
just
yeah.
start getting the. But you still got this whole spring semester to go. Like they have enough
Mhm.
time to turn it around, and I don't know how many teams. I think we have to figure out how many teams make the playoffs. But if they're able to get their way in, I think they
Yeah.
can do it.
If they're able to punch their ticket to the actual like playoff scenario, I mean, they're definitely geared up for that. So,
Yeah,
do you
for
want to
sure.
kind of shift over to our friends in D2 for women's ACHA? We're going to go over again the top 10, and then we're going to talk about our friends of the podcast if they are not in the top 10. So, at the one spot, we've got Sioux College. They are 14-0-0-0. They're having a bit of a heater. They've won 14 games in a row. Not a bad way to start the season.
No.
We've got University of Delaware in the 2 spot. They are 12-4-1-1. We've got Assiniboine Community College. They are 12-0-0-0. The U.S. Naval Academy, they are 12-2-0-0. We've got Villanova at 11-0-0-0. CMU hopping in 6th place. Friends of the podcast, they are 11-1-0-0.
Fire
And
up the chips, baby. You love to see it, dude. You love it. And the thing with like the one loss was another close one too. But I
Mhm,
mean, you love to see it, because the
mhm.
ladies at Central Michigan have been absolutely on it. Love to see, like, they have had a bunch of games where it's like 6-1, 7-1. I think one game was like 9-1. Like they've just been
I mean,
absolutely feeling it this year.
their goal differential tells that story because they have 64 goals for and 21 goals against with a positive 43 goal diff. So I mean, they are
You
having a
love to see
season.
him. You love to see it, man.
Mhm.
Just keeping up to date with the game. I love the fact too, like you look at the fact they have like their YouTube channel just for the game. So it's
Mhm.
easy for me as the Central Michigan fan to go watch them on YouTube for every single home game.
Yes.
It's just absolutely fantastic. So cannot be any more proud of Central Michigan right now. So as long as you keep that second half going like they did for the first, I have a pretty
Yeah.
good feeling about the chips this year to make some noise in division too. So you love to
Oh,
see
for
it. You
sure.
love to see it. So definitely excited for Emily and everyone over there at Central Michigan. Just keep it up, and like I said, fire up the chips, baby. Watch out.
And
I'm
then
not biased at all.
you're not, no, not at all. And
Not at
then
all.
we've got Providence College in 7th place. They are 9-0-1-2. Liberty coming in at 8th at 9-4-0-1. We've got the University of Vermont coming in at 8-0-1-0. Assumption University is 8-3-1-0 to round out the top 10. we scroll.
Are we assuming that this college is pretty good at hockey? Because their assumption,
I think we are making that assumption that they might be kind of good at the college WoHo. We do have to kind of scroll down a little bit to find our friends of the podcast at Bowling Green State. Like the ladies talked about when they were here, this is really the first full season that they have been able to play ACHA hockey. So there's been some growing pains. I mean, that is how it is when you haven't played for a while, you haven't played together. They are currently sitting at 45th in Division II. There are 62 teams in the division. So they're kind of like lower middle of the road here. They are 1-8-1, having played 10 games. Just kind of got to, knock the rust off, get things flowing. I imagine the second half of their season is going to be a pretty good push.
Oh yeah, I think Jen and Chloe will get that team rolled around. I mean, like you said, it's first season, sure. Trying to figure it out. Plus, I mean, they're like conference that they're kind of into. Like you're talking like Notre Dame, Adrian, Central Michigan, Miami University, and stuff like that. And that's a pretty tough division to get into, especially for your first year. Then trying to play all those teams are kind of somewhat more established, years wise. But I think figure out this season, keep building the roster and stuff like that. I mean, you can only go up from here, and I think the ladies at Bowling Green will catch that stride and catch the next set. Of like, okay, then they can start making some noise and making some runs, and who knows? We could definitely see Bowling Green in the top 20 at some point soon. Like you said, just growing pains of year one in a tough conference, division stuff like that. But we always definitely wish the friends of the podcast, for good seasons and stuff like that. So yeah, we're excited to see what Chloe and Jenna and all of them can do down there at Bowling Green. So
absolutely. And I mean, we will absolutely give the Wo Hockey tire pump to all of our friends of the podcast. I mean,
kind of have to.
If you are listening to this and you are a hockey player at not one of those schools, and you also want the Wo Hockey tire pump, shoot us an email, slide into the DMs. You can actually follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Talk Wo Hockey Pod.
I see what you did there.
Picking up what I'm putting down.
I mean, you really strode into that really nicely. I like the back check on that. You just kind of brought it in nicely.
I really did. And of course, if you're not watching this podcast, you're missing out. Like, you've missed some key facial expressions already in this episode. So go ahead and head on over to YouTube. Give us a follow at Let's Talk Wo Hockey. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to come and be a guest on the podcast so we can feature your school, or just talk about women's hockey, or even the Blackhawks, if you want to come and talk about that, make sure to shoot us an email at letstalkwohockey@gmail.com. While you're on our YouTube, don't forget to comment, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things. Like, we like talking with you guys. I mean, mostly, not gonna lie, it's usually me talking to you on YouTube. It's usually not Zach, but you never know.
I do the Twitter stuff.
You might slide in there and comment every now and then. So
I mostly do the Twitter stuff. So if you catch me over there, yes. But I am, for this podcast, I'm really glad we have WoHo to talk about, because if it was nothing but Blackhawks, I
would just cry the whole time. Like, that's just how it is. I would
it would basically be like last Thursday's episode, where it's kind of like, yep, that's the Blackhawks. Yeah. So luckily when you came to me about this podcast, it's like, you want to do a podcast and it's about WoHo. I'm like, sure.
I'm sorry, sir. We have to do this correctly. I gave you a little music symbol and I said, do you want to start a podcast?
Yes.
So, I mean, I had to.
You had to? Yeah.
I absolutely, positively, 100% had to. But so many exciting things are happening, because we are finally back on the regular international women's hockey and men's hockey schedules. So earlier today, we had the start of the U18 IIHF Women's Worlds Championship. For Team USA, they've got a pretty amazing thing going on. They are coached by none other than Brianna Decker, who is also the PHF future players team development.
Yeah. if your head coach,
person.
if your head coach is Brianna Decker, who's won medals, won championships, has done pretty much a lot in women's hockey, I think you're feeling pretty good about maybe listening to what she has to say and getting some decent, coaching. But I mean, there's a lot of good teams in this, like in the women's world. Though there is so many good teams.
There really are, and the fun part about it too is like, not only is she coaching the team, but also she is the player development, team development staff member for the Professional Women's Hockey League. So
there's your link right there to like, hey, just so you know,
not only are you out there playing and obviously wanting to bring home that medal for your country, but you are also displaying your ability to somebody who can transfer what you've done in Sweden to potentially in the future, once you've come of age to play in the PHF. Like, you could be looking at getting a contract and playing hockey professionally in a time where next season the PHF is again doubling the salary cap from this season. And like, we're talking like a legitimate livable wages for every single person on the team.
Yeah. And also too, there's an 8th team coming, so that's some more roster spots too. So I mean, there's a lot of good things. But like you said, like it's a great way to put your face and name in front of someone who can help you, put your name in some ears of these teams and be like, hey, watch out for so and so from the States and stuff like that. Even then too, like, because they had a lot of influence of European players this past offseason too. So like if you look at just to run through the 8 nations and the 2 groups that are going to be there, I think they're playing Ostersund. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce Swedish cities, but that's where they're at.
Oh yeah, I don't either, but the groups, I think it's Ostersund.
Okay, but
that would be my IKEA influence.
It's got the umlaut over the O, so it kind of makes it really interesting trying to figure out how to do that. But the teams that are there, we got Canada, Chechnya, Finland, Japan, Switzerland, Slovakia, Sweden, and the United States. So I mean, a lot of really good, solid countries. I'm really excited to. Like I said, it did kind of start today because they are in Sweden, so they are ahead of us in terms of like the games haven't started yet, but the tournament day has started.
Play-in tournaments. No, they're actually having games played. Okay. So from Group A, we've had Canada versus Finland, and the U.S. versus Sweden. Canada absolutely pumped Finland 8-0. Like, poof. I mean, but also it's Canada, so. We don't expect much less than that most of the time. USA did beat Sweden 6-3. So we've got US and Canada both with 1 win each. In Group B, we've got Slovakia, who played Japan, and they did win 6-3. And then Chechnya played Switzerland, and Chechnya did win 3-2. So we've already had some action happen. Obviously, this is the play-in, the buy-in, the seedings, all of that stuff. So we're getting all that going, and I mean, the scores are already kind of what we expect sometimes when it comes to these types of events. We know, we've heard it. There needs to be more parity in women's hockey. Blah 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 blah. But the fact that teams like Japan have jumped into the actual tournament.
Yeah, like that's really huge because we saw against like all these other countries, like you saw it with China had a women's team and stuff like that. So it's really huge thing now. But honestly, I'm excited because we've been waiting for the women's worlds for so long. We've been waiting for a whole bunch of. It's been a process waiting for the women just to get all their stuff back. Like even for like the main women's, like the women's worlds, not just the U18s, but like the main women's worlds took forever to get back. So to get the U18s, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna have to ask you this, Beth. I know you're gonna be picking USA for your team. If you had to pick anyone else to root for in this tournament, who are you picking?
How do you know that I'm picking Team USA?
Okay, you know what? I'll take a skate back on that one. And who are you rooting for in this tournament?
So I'm just gonna go. Oh, Courtney's gonna kill me for this. I'm going full send Team Canada.
Oh no!
Okay, my underdog, because obviously, like we all pretty much know that the gold medal game is going to be U.S. Canada. Like,
Wow.
we, Courtney's
the-
going to murder me, and it's fine. That just means that she listens, and we love her for it. However, my like underdog, like bronze medal game pick is Japan.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
you're rooting for Canada, but your underdog. It was your underdog is Japan. Oh,
Yes.
the demigod
So
is gonna be so upset with you right now.
she is, and it's fine, Courtney. You know that I love you, but I just have
Oh,
this feeling in my bones,
she's
and
gonna chirp you so bad when she hears this.
she is.
I'm
I'm
excited.
gonna like.
I'm
I'm gonna
excited for the
pray
group
for
chat.
my fantasy hockey team because she is gonna curse my team, and we're just gonna go on a losing skid, and it's fine. I fully accept that. But and part of that too comes from looking at the matchups. Like I have the schedule right in front of me. So on the 9th, we have 4 games. We've got Japan versus Chechnya, US versus Finland, Slovakia versus Switzerland, and Sweden versus Canada. On the 11th, we have Czechia versus Slovakia. We've got Finland versus Sweden, Switzerland versus Japan, and then the coveted play-in round matchup of Canada versus US.
I really hope Courtney chirps you in our group chat because I want to see this happen. I want to see this.
It's fine. Again, if she chirps me in the group chat, that means that she's listening.
We got to find a way to watch these games too because we have. I mean, once it's Canada US, it's kind of like we need like we did for the Olympics where we did the watch group for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they are. I hope, like knock on wood, they're going to be on NHL Network. I mean, in all fairness, they did just show the entirety of the tournament when the US played and when Canada played on NHL Network. So, in fair terms of equality,
yeah, hopefully, or at least on ESPN Plus or something. Like, give us something here.
Yeah, I know. Last year it was kind of hit or miss, but you could watch a little bit like on the website in the game center. But I guess we'll see. And then the medal rounds and the qualifying and all of that stuff, that does begin on the 12th of January. We will have 3 games on the 12th. There are 4 games on the 14th. And then there are 3 games on the 15th that are currently on the schedule. Obviously, we do not know who those opponents will be because it's based on the seeding from the play-in rounds, et cetera, all of the weird things that go into making that happen. So that'll be something obviously that we talk about in the coming days on who will be playing once the play-in round is completed on the 11th. We will know who is playing in the next round, and we will be talking about that next week on the podcast.
Well, I haven't picked my teams yet. Are we just gonna be like, forget you, Zach? You don't get to pick your teams.
Can you let me finish and move back over to the place where I can see our faces so that you can pick your teams? Because I wanted to at least get through the schedule and tell you who was playing who, so that you could make your picks for your go-to and then your underdog. So we're gonna flip it up though, because I would like to know what underdog team you are rooting for first.
Okay, I was mainly just giving you a hard time because it's just it's fun. I'll get a whole lot of chances to chirp you back, so I thought it would be kind of fun to do that. So,
I mean, if you want, I can just turn this into a one-woman show and just pop you out of the podcast. So I have the control.
I mean that is very true. I'm counting my days on this podcast at this point. it's like I get replaced by Courtney at some point. It's just you and her just talk Blackhawks and WoHo all the time. So.
And 17 hours later, the episodes will be finished, and people will be like, "It's been 4 days since I started listening to this episode."
It's been 84 years.
Exactly. So, underdog pick, go.
I'm going Switzerland as my underdog pick. I know it's one of those, like, I think Switzerland could be one of those sneaky teams that can be like, no one's really thinking about them very much, but I think they could actually, because like you said, you got Finland and Sweden. Those are kind of like the usual suspects in terms of they're going to do something, but then also, like I said, I think Switzerland could be one of those like sneaky teams that could do something out of that. Did StreamYard kick you out again?
It did. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm back. I didn't like solo mode you StreamYard, which is like, Beth has said enough, so we're just gonna give her a break for a minute and then let her come back in. So we got Switzerland for your underdog. And again, like in a perfect world, our bronze medal game would be like Japan versus Switzerland.
That would be fun. That would be a good one.
Because then it would be like UV me underdogs for the bronze medal. Because again, we know just based on history and the current state of women's hockey that it will most likely be US and Canada for silver and gold, barring any sort of crazy things happening. But again, this is hockey, so crazy things do happen. Gold medal pick, Zach?
This is where I'm going to throw you off completely because so are you saying this is the team that I'm picking to win the whole thing, or because I'll say this: it's not the United States.
Keep going.
I'm trying to build suspense. You got to build the suspense up a little bit. I can't just be outright saying it. I'm picking Slovakia.
Interesting. Courtney's gonna hate both of us, and that's fine.
At least you know what though? I don't think she's gonna hate me because I didn't pick Canada.
Just looking at the roster.
Oh, I know it's underdog and then like dark horse like Slovakia. I know it's just
I'm here for it because again, this would silence all of the WoHo critics who talk about how there's not enough parity in this game. So
it also does help them. It also does help them also part Slovakian, so I kind of have like a little bit of a bias. Well, me and Tara both are Slovak, so it's kind of like let's go on a limb here because I mean everyone's going to pick Canada, the United States, so why not go out there a little bit and be like Slovakia? It's going to be Slovakia and the United States in the gold medal game.
So what you're saying is you're choosing full men's hockey chaos and picking not the two powerhouse women's international teams
to win the whole thing. Yes.
Okay.
Because
I'm here for it. Because again, this will silence the Twitter critics of women's hockey who talk about all the time how there's not enough parity in this game, and it's like, outside of when teams play like the US and Canada, like honestly, I'm not going to lie. Generally 99.9% of the time when it comes to women's hockey, when Finland plays Canada, you expect Finland to get pumped. When Japan or Sweden play the US, you expect them to get pumped. Like
it's just crazy because you look at the men's side of things, like Finland and Sweden are usually pretty up there. It's
well,
like you said, it's women's hockey. It's a little bit different compared to the men. So I agree, it is different. It's kind of like you don't like the Scandinavian teams also struggle like everyone else does. It's not like
part of the problem with the parity discussion in women's hockey is girls/women's hockey has been a staple in the country of Canada for much longer than many other countries.
Yeah.
It has been a staple in the United States since like the mid 90s, early 2000s, when girls were allowed to play on like co-ed teams with boys.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of nowhere else for them to go. And a lot of this came about when women's hockey began to exist in the Olympics. And the two countries who embraced it the most were obviously Canada, because they were like, we've been doing this for a long time. What are you talking about? And the US was like, girls can play hockey too. And we were like, yes, we can. Thank you so much. The European, Scandinavian teams, things like that, it's a more recent development. I mean, Japan is in Group B right now, which is phenomenal. Even watching the Olympics, like if you weren't watching a US-Canada game, the games were amazing, and these women are amazing at what they do. So you have to just watch more than the US and Canada play women's hockey to know that the skill is there. They're just developing their programs, much like Bowling Green. This is their first real season that they've been able to play women's hockey. it takes time to develop your program, especially when it's a U18 situation.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you can look at all the other, like, a lot of teams have like the main teams, like, Germany, and like you said, you got Chechnya, Japan, China's got a team and stuff like that. And France, Great Britain. It just takes a bit for a lot of these teams to go just past their main rosters out. Like you said, U21s, U18s. It takes a bit. So that's why the field is a little different compared to what you usually see in terms of a championship world format. It's just that's what you have, like Japan, Switzerland, and stuff like that. It's just is what it is.
Well, and the other side of it is, in a lot of these places, the men's program had to run before women's programs could even crawl. So it again comes to the parity between men's and women's sports, where yes, they have successful men's programs, and now the main reason they have women's programs is because those boys' sisters were like, I want to play hockey too. I want to play hockey like him. And they had to just birth a program into existence because it wasn't there. Right. So, I mean, I could stand on this soapbox forever. This is, I could live on this soapbox, but the parity exists and the programs are developing, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Either way, I'm excited because we got another set of worlds to watch. It's more WoHo. We're here for it. I'm probably going to get chirped like crazy for picking Slovakia because everyone's like, you're stupid. Why would you not pick the two powerhouses? And I'm like, well, you know what? It's always good to go against the grain a little bit. Take the path less traveled. I know how to speak. I do that. I podcast for as a hobby for a living. So
would everyone like to know why Zach has chosen Slovakia?
Why have I chosen Slovakia?
Chaos.
Partially, yes. Yes. Partially to ties, but yes, partially for because why not? I mean, would this really be Let's Talk Hockey without some spicy takes and some hot picks?
No, it would not. The other thing I want to touch on really quick, we talked to Ian Kennedy a couple months ago. He recently brought to light that he would love to see a U20 tournament on the women's side of things, because it exists on the men's side of things. We just saw that take place. And so I'm all for it. Like, I would love for the IIHF to finally step up and say, the men have these tournaments, the women will have these tournaments. This is the IIHF Men's Hockey Championship. This is the IIHF Women's Hockey Championship. Like, if you're going to call it women's hockey, then you have to call it men's hockey.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say, the last the U18s for the guys who just ended, what an absolute joke. The reffing in that entire tournament
was a nightmare.
I don't really cuss a lot on this podcast, but it was a fucking joke. I'm sorry, it was. Like I said, I don't cuss very much, but it was an absolute travesty of how you could tell that home reffing was abysmally bad.
Oh yeah. So
like a lot of people are saying, like, for me, like, I think hockey, we're just guessing. We're not sure if this is true or not, but there's something that had to be happening, because there's no way Canada's hosting this thing. They're in the midst of all this crap that they're going through, and then all of a sudden they're just going to go and just destroy everyone and everything in this tournament. And basically, like, it was blatant calls going their way. Yeah. Like, everyone was calling this out. It wasn't just like United States fans saying this. Like, even people from Canada, while yes, they were chirping the States because they were playing us in the final, but at the same time, it's kind of like, man, there's a lot of like bad calls in these games. Like,
yeah,
top to bottom, every game was pretty bad. So it makes you wonder about how this tournament was reffed.
I would love to see a ref pool that involves like not just local officiants. So if we're hosting an international tournament, the officiating crew should also be a representative complement of the groups that are playing. So if you've got 8 teams from the US and Denmark and Chechnya and Slovakia and bring officials from all of those countries and mix it up, like have the ref be from the US and one of the linesmen be from Sweden and one of the linesmen be from like Slovakia, like mix it up, have it be an option where there's no bias that can be said exists.
Yeah, or just have like how they do it for college football, where it's like if it's a conference against another conference, have a third party conference ref that game, so there's no conference bias. That's why you should have
if it's US versus Canada, the ref should all be like Sweden.
Yeah, or a mix of like Sweden or Chechnya, like just basically have a mix of guys who aren't either from those countries. Like make it to where it's a third party officiating crew where there's, like you said, no chance of a bias situation happening, because we're not trying to be salty Americans for losing in the gold medal game for the men's World Juniors. Men's World Juniors. It's just it's such a joke, because you see how blatant it was, and people who cover the NHL were watching this, saying that these were really soft, unnecessary calls.
And it also wasn't the typical talking heads who complain about the officiating. Like everything that I saw was such a confluence of like every media person in hockey being like, I'm sorry, how was that goaltender interference? That wasn't even a trip. What are you talking? Like it was across the board. It wasn't the normal people who are like, ugh, these refs, they're awful. It wasn't fans. Like it was media and like players calling out the officiating,
and like even guys who are in Canada, who mostly do stuff for TSN or Sportsnet, even they were like, these are pretty
garbage.
Yeah, so that really tells you that, like I said, we're not saying that something did happen. Like we're not saying like Hockey Canada or whoever like was doing something behind closed doors, which I mean, it makes you wonder what the heck was going on, because there's no way it should have been like that.
It's true. So, of course, the best thing happened ever. The PHF came back this weekend.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the really cool like Pittsburgh Penny shirt that Anya's trying to give away.
I'm getting there. That's part of the PHF coming back.
I know. I was just being funny.
So not only did the PHF come back this weekend, all 7 teams played this weekend, and we had 3 days of PHF hockey because it was another Friday, Saturday, Sunday lineup. And another, again, all 7 teams played, which means there was a split among teams playing where they were playing. So Friday night, we had the Boston Pride come in to the Connecticut Whale and play. The Whale wore the Dark Seas jerseys, which are just what dreams are made of. Like,
yeah, it's just, they're so nice.
They're so beautiful. But then the Pride pumped the Whale 5-2.
It just seems like whenever the Whale play the Pride, it's just one day we'll get the monkey off the back and be like, all right, now we can beat the Pride, and it's rough. It's kind of tough.
Yeah. So it was beautiful to have the PHF back. It was beautiful to have 3 days of WoHo, but then we also got the first official ever Battle of Canada in PHF history in the regular season, because Saturday and Sunday, the Toronto Six came into the province of Quebec to play the Montreal Force. And it was, it was a set of games. The game on Saturday ended up in a shootout, with the Toronto Six winning eventually in the 4th round of the shootout, because they needed an extra round to actually determine a winner, 3-2. The game that just ended right before we started podcasting, I switched over from the Whale game to the Six Force game. Not even 20 seconds after I switched over, the Six were winning 2-1. I switched the game on, and Montreal scores, and it's tied at 2.
Look what you did.
Look what I did.
Influencer.
Look what I did. I think that I might be good luck for the Montreal Force. I even tweeted that out in French, mind you.
I hope they liked it at least.
I haven't been able to check yet because we've been podcasting.
Also true.
And the last, I want to say 2.5 minutes of game clock for that game, Montreal was down 3-2, called a timeout, pulled the tendy, and the Six were struggling to clear the zone. And there were so many quality chances for the Force to tie the game and force overtime. It was like heart in your throat, forget how to breathe levels of excitement. But the Six did end up closing that out and sweeping the weekend, taking 5 points with them with another 3-2 victory. The Whitecaps rolled into Buffalo. It was not a very good showing for the Buttes on Saturday or Sunday. They did lose 4-1 Saturday, and they lost 5-3 today. And so the Whitecaps left with all 6 points from both of those games. And then our Whale, on their split weekend of teams playing, they rolled into American Dream. And I've only watched a couple of games that have been at American Dream just because they're all on at the same time. So it's hard to flip around and not get stuck watching one game. Oh, that rink is beautiful.
Oh, it's really nice. And that was a game today for our Whale. Like
Taylor Gerard had herself a game. Her first goal was in the first 70 seconds of the game off of the opening faceoff, led to a scoring drive. She then scored just a couple moments after that, and was on Hattie watch like 7 minutes into the game. The Whale ended up winning 6-0 with a goaltending change for the Rivs coming after the first period, and they brought in Katie Burt because it was 3-0 at the end of the first.
Oof, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I mean, for how good Katie Burt was last year, that's a tough situation. You're coming in basically cold after being already down 3-0. You got to stop the Whale, who are at that point pretty good about themselves. I think we had another player on Hattie watch too by the time the game was over.
Yeah,
so we had who was it? What was her name? The other Whale player who was on Hattie watch.
The other Whale player was Mrazova.
That's what. Okay, I can't pronounce her last name, so I didn't want to mess up. I know you knew it better than I did, but we had like 2 Whale on Hattie watch, which is fantastic to see. But yeah, they basically went in and stole the American Dream from the Rivs.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I was kind of sitting on that one a little bit. So
I see what you did there, and I mean, not only did
a lot of puns on this podcast today. So
I mean, we do get a little punny every now and then, and I mean, not only was it 6-0, this was not in Abby Ives' shutout. Miss Abby Ives was not in net. This was a Mary Racinen shutout.
Wow, well, there you go.
So we have got shutties from both tendies this season, because Abby Ives got her first career PHF shutout a couple weeks ago. Well, a couple weeks before the winter break, and now Racinen also has a shutty.
That's really awesome to see.
It's so very much Whaley awesome, and you know, I love a good shutout. Of course, as I think every human who's ever met me knows, I am like the most superstitious person that exists in the world. It is what it is. That's just how I'm wired. I won't even say things like, "Oh, look, the goalie has stopped every shot they've faced this game so far." We don't go there. Don't go there.
Don't do it.
We just talk about saves. He or she has stopped 22 shots. That's all we talked about.
Don't be that person. Don't be that person.
I can't. Well, and it's because this happened in an NHL game a couple weeks ago. I can't remember which game it was, but one of the broadcasters was talking about how like the Tendy currently had a shutout going, and he did not believe in the broadcaster's curse. And literally 45 seconds after that was said, the shutout was over. And he was like, "Well, I still don't believe I had anything to do with that." Sir, you have angered the hockey gods.
What
and they
have
have
we
shown you.
What have we preached on this podcast about the hockey gods? You don't
anger the hockey gods. Like, just don't do it. Don't do it.
You know what? That's a dang it. We should tell that is a dang it right there.
It really is. So just quickly to kind of go over the standings, because there has been a slight shift in the standings. The Six are still atop the league with 27 points. They are 9-1-2. The Pride are sitting in second place at 9-2-0 with 25 points. They do have a game in hand. They've only played 11 games. We have the Whitecaps at 6-4-2 with 20 points. We have our Connecticut Whale with 3 games in hand over the top team in the league. They are 4-4-1 with 13 points. But, if they win those 3 games in regulation, that's 9 points on the books. And that would actually jump them up into third place in the league ahead of the Whitecaps.
Yep.
We've got the Ribs in 5th place. They are 4-8-0 with 11 points. We've got the Force in 6th place. They are 4-5-1, also with 11 points. But again, this also depends on, overtime, regulation losses, etc., because of how the points system works in the PHF. And then we have the Buffalo Buttes in 7th place in the league. They have only played 8 games, so they do have 4 games in hand on the Toronto Six. However, they have only won 1 game this season. They are 1-6-1 with 4 points in the lead. So,
just like last year, the Buttes, like they finished last year. This year, it's kind of like you think you get Grant Mantis, you get some names on that roster. You think, okay, it might be a little bit of a turnaround in Buffalo, but I don't know. It's still, like you said, it's only 8 games. There's still a lot of games to go. We just got done with the winter break. There's also a lot of cancellations due to the snowstorms. But at the same time, though, I don't know. It's like Buffalo's got to figure it out, or it's going to be another long season for the Buttes.
Well, the problem as well comes with, like last year, a lot of Buffalo struggles had to do with how much time they spent in the penalty box.
Well, I mean, of course, yeah.
This season, it's not so much that. They've got granted, they've played 1 less game than the Whale, but they still have the lowest penalty minutes in the league with 58. The Toronto Six have racked up 104 penalty minutes this season. The Ribs just crossed the 100 PIM mark.
Wow, it's kind of surprising because usually the Ribs are like leading the PIMS mark. So I mean,
correct.
So it was like last year where the Buttes were struggling with people always being in the box. This year is just scoring has been an issue, and
there has also been a lot of movement for the Buttes over the off season.
Oh yeah,
so
it was a lot of new names and a lot and stuff like that. So it kind of goes into that, but at the same time, it's just like
And then kind of looking at things for the Buttes as well, they signed Cassidy Sauve from Ohio State, just won the NCAA National Championship for women's hockey. She was placed on long-term IR, retroactive to yesterday.
Oh, geez.
So they lost who was going to be like their go-to starting tendy, who is a very recent national champion with Ohio State. And they've had to sign Tara Hoffman to a contract. She was on a PTO. They did sign her to a full contract. So she is in and good to go. But their goaltending situation has definitely fluctuated from what they were looking at before the season started and even from the first couple of games of the season.
Right.
So it's tough when you see a tendy go down, especially in a league like the PHF. There are only 7 teams. And so you've got to kind of, especially with a lot of players going overseas, this, that, and the other, players on their national teams. I'm glad that they were able to get Tara in there and have her ready to go. But I mean, losing a tendy early in the season.
It's definitely brutal.
It is definitely brutal. And I mean, Corinne Schroeder is still doing insane things. She still is the PHF goalie of all of the records right now. She's got a 213 goals against, a 941 save percentage. She's got 9 wins. We know she has several shutouts as well. So she is still just absolutely killing it. Our whale girl Taylor Gerard has been on a tear. She extended her point streak at the game today when she had 2 goals and 2 assists. She also leads the league in shorthanded goals this season with 3 in 9
There you
games. So she is on an absolute heater. Brittany Howard is killing it for the Toronto Six. She leads the league in points, goals, and power play goals. We've got Lauren Gable leading the league in assists and points per game. Brittany Howard also Brittany Howard is tied for the lead with game winning goals. She has 3, Jillian Dempsey has 3, and Natalie Snodgrass also has 3. So it has been a good season for the Pride when it comes to goaltending, to move on from Katie Burt and to find this treasure in Corinne Schroeder is just, that's some back-to-back champion luck there. Like,
could you say Schroeder might be making a case for an MVP?
Honestly, she set the league record for shutouts. Her numbers are phenomenal. She is playing really well. 100%.
I don't know if they had a goalie win the MVP yet. So I'm kind of curious to see if this might be the first time we get an MVP in a goalie for the league.
I don't know. Let me see here.
Because I think, wasn't Kenny Marchment the first rookie ever to win the MVP as well last season? So I mean, she
was the first rookie to win last season. So Brianna Decker was MVP in 15-16 and 16-17.
Of course.
Obviously not a goalie. Alexa Grusho from the Riveters was the MVP in 17-18. Not a goalie. Maddie Elia was the MVP in 18-19. Not a goalie. Jillian Dempsey and Allie Thunstrom were the MVPs in 19-20, because obviously there was all sorts of crazy things that started to go on.
Yep.
In 2021, Michaela Grant-Mentis was the MVP, and last season it was Kennedy Marchment. So the PHF has yet to have a goalie be MVP, and Corinne Schroeder is making a case
right
to be the first, and it would absolutely be earned. She is having a stellar rookie campaign. She is, I mean, it was 4 shutouts in a row to start the season?
3 or 4.
3 or 4?
I think it was 3 because I predicted 5.
I think you predicted 5. So
I wasn't far off. I wasn't far off.
You really weren't. Like, she has been absolutely lights out. I mean, when opening weekend is over and you go to the leading stats page for the league, and the leading goaltender has a 0.00 goals against and a 1,000 save percentage, like, you know things are going well. She has 4 shutouts on the season. She has she's made 354 saves on 376 shots and only allowed 22 goals in 11 games.
That's like what, 90? That's 2 goals a game. Like, what's her goals against and her save percentage then?
Her goals against is 213 and her save percentage is 941. So
stupid, because that's how good.
Yes.
That's how good she is.
Yes, and also she has an assist on the season.
Of course she does. You know what? I'm waiting for a goalie goal. I'm waiting for the goalie goal because why not? Why not?
Would you like to know when she recorded that assist? Because I'm going to tell you, it was on January 6th, 2023.
Oh no!
Versus the Connecticut Whale.
Of course she did.
Of course. So
it had to be against the Whale.
I have been calling for a goalie goal all season, especially the Abby Ives shutout, because it was like 2-0, and they pulled their goalie, and I was sitting in my living room like, give the puck to Abby, give the puck to Abby, because I mean I could 100% see her just rifling that sucker right down the rink and popping it in the goal, and
that would be fantastic.
I need a PHF goalie goal. I need it like I need air to breathe. So we do have some exciting PHF hockey coming up next weekend. We've got a lot of games on tap. I believe we only have 6 of the 7 teams playing next weekend. I am refreshing the schedule right now to confirm that information. On the 14th, we have the Force visiting Connecticut to play the Whale. And then we've got, all 7 teams are in action next week, it looks like.
Oh, there you go.
I'm now confused. And those are the makeup games. Okay, I was about to be really confused because there's Tuesday and Wednesday games, and my brain froze for a moment. So next week, we've got a lot of stuff going on because the week after we have games on Tuesday and Wednesday to make up for the canceled games with Buffalo and Connecticut. So Saturday, we've got the Force visiting Connecticut. We've got the Whitecaps visiting the Riveters at American Dream. We've got the Buttes at the Pride. And then on Sunday, we have the Whitecaps and the Riveters playing at American Dream and the Buttes at the Pride. So if my math is correct, let's see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have no Toronto 6 next weekend. And then during the week, we do have the makeup games for the Buffalo Buttes versus the Connecticut Whale. They will be on Tuesday, the 17th, and Wednesday, the 18th. The Tuesday game is at 7. The Wednesday game is at 7:30, and they are playing one game at Milford Ice Arena and another game at ISCC. I'm assuming that probably has to do with scheduling conflicts since they couldn't play both in the same building, which is absolutely fine because both arenas are beautiful. So it is another jam-packed weekend, but also week of PHF hockey because we're going to have some Tuesday and Wednesday games. And honestly, I'm a little excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's like looking at the future of what the PHF could look like in a few seasons. That
would be nice. And with like 10 or 12 teams.
Absolutely here for it. So before we say goodbye to ourselves, we do also want to give all of you a reminder to make sure you are following our new network, 5 in a Game Sports Network, on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at 5, the number 5, and a game SN. And of course, you can find us on YouTube at 5GSN. And we are on TikTok as well. I am not TikTok literate, but I believe it's 5 game SN.
And it's actually spelled out 5. It's not the number.
It's the number 5 is in everything except for TikTok. On TikTok, it's 5, the word game SN. Mm-hmm. So this has been a great episode. I'm kind of digging this whole we just talk about women's hockey time. Yeah. So my friend Zach, where can the humans find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at one true Zach. That's only true Zach, like the own neaters. You can find me on there. Beth, where can people find you on the socials?
This is where we always confuse the people because you can find me at Wonder Beffers. That is like the word wonderful.
You mean like what I wonder what happened to the Oneaters? Yes,
I absolutely do. So I can't believe we're at 37 episodes.
I know.
Number 1. Wow. Number 2, this is the first episode where we're not doing a Blackhawk of the game because we ain't talking about them people. So
that's
for myself.
Beth, we're not doing that.
It is weird, but it's fine. It is what it is because we like talking WoHo, and I love that this was a whole WoHo episode.
It's the WoShow.
It's the WoShow, and I am so very here for it. So for myself, Beth, for my dude Zach, this has been the first ever WoShow of Let's Talk Wo Hockey. It has been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you on Thursday when we talk about those other people that we talk about. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Watching this 5 in a Game Sports Network podcast. Now avoid the selfie and go enjoy.